Tonight, there is a state of emergency in Missouri following record rainfall around the St. Louis area. The historic floods left roads, cars, and homes underwater. Dozens of people had to be rescued from the rising water. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Kelly Jackson.
And I'm Mike Bush, and we're live here in Richmond Heights at an emergency shelter, a regional emergency shelter, where about 90 people have come after being displaced by the flooding from their homes. We have team coverage tonight from O'Fallon, Missouri to St. Charles to St. Louis. And there was, unfortunately, one fatality because of flash flooding. With more on that, let's check in with 5 on your side, Sarah Maki.
Yeah, Mike, this is just one of the many areas around the city of St. Louis that was overcome with water earlier today. This place in particular, very close to where first responders pulled a body from a car that had been submerged in water around 10:30 this morning. Now, we still don't know a lot of the details about that person while police are notifying the next of kin, but I do want to show you one of the cars that is still out here today. You can see just how high the water line got here, covering the dashboard, leaving debris inside of the car here. But I want you to take a quick look at some of the video that the fire department shot early this morning, where you can see the way that the waters were quickly streaming in. This video was shot just north of where we are standing right now. Now, it wasn't until the waters did start to recede several hours later that several cars came back into view. We're told that one of them, one on your screen right now, luckily the driver in that one was able to escape. First responders say that they went to about 70 rescues in total, including some repeat visits to people who initially didn't want to evacuate their homes.
We had a couple this morning that didn't want to leave, so we had to come back about an hour later because now they were trapped in their attic. So it becomes an issue for the fire department. So it's just, you have to heed the warning of the first responders who have been through this type of incident before and evacuate when we tell you to evacuate.
Now, we did talk to some residents in one of those neighborhoods who they take some issue with the way that was characterized. We are working on that story for tonight at 6 o'clock. Again, we are also waiting to hear more details about the person who did die in today's floodwaters. But for right now, reporting live tonight, Sarah Maki, 5 on your side.
All right, Sarah, thanks. Our team coverage continues now with Justina Cornell, who's in O'Fallon, Missouri. People had to be rescued there after more than a foot of rain fell overnight. Let's check in with Justina.
Yeah, Mike, I spoke to a mom who woke up to water rushing through her window. And the first thing she did was grab her 7-year-old daughter and try to make it to safety.
And all of a sudden, my bedroom window right above my bed busted out and water started coming in. So at that point, I just ran straight into my daughter's room because we're both in the basement.
That's when Heather Thiel opened her front door and saw this. This family home has been theirs for 35 years. However, historic rainfall made her witness something she's never seen before.
It has never been as high as this one was, and it's never been as fast moving.
It was around 3 a.m. when the storms woke her up. She grabbed her 7-year-old and her mom and then rushed to help others.
That was even the first thing before I called 911. I started calling my neighbors to make sure they were awake.
As they waited to get rescued, the water kept rising along with their anxiety. Thiel says her priority was to comfort her daughter.
She was scared. She kept yelling, "I don't want to drown." So she got scared. There was that panic of, are they going to get to you? How do I get to the roof?
On their way to help was the O'Fallon Fire Protection District and Battalion Chief Gary McCutcheon.
Some of the homeowners trapped in their attics.
With a lake in the back of the Bellew Creek and Bellew Lake Drive neighborhood and nearly a foot of rain, homes and cars were swamped with flash flooding.
I would say the water was 10 to 15 feet deep and it was flowing very fast. So it was not water that a homeowner could have swam across.
Theo, along with 17 others, were rescued overnight.
They had pulled the boat right up here. He just told us, hold on, there's cars and lots of things underneath.
While most of her items are gone, she's grateful for the wave of support coming from loved ones.
Every time I sit down, I start to cry and someone pats me on the back and tells me we're going to get through this.
She also tells me how incredible these first responders were during this rescue, making her daughter feel comfortable during these scary times. Reporting live, Justina Cornell, 5 on your side.
Justina, thank you very much. Well, as I mentioned earlier, we've got about 80 or 90 people here in Richmond Heights at this regional evacuation center, a shelter where they're getting food and they're also getting blankets. There are people here of all ages, and many are just scared. The Red Cross is here too. The one common denominator from the people I talk with, they have harrowing stories of rushing water.
Well, the downstairs was flooded, and they was banging on my door, so they had to kick the door down.
Oh my gosh.
To get me out.
The police came and hit the door and said, "Everybody get out, everybody get out." And he was knocking on everybody's doors, and I just grabbed medicine and throwed it in a bag, and we ran out in the hall because the apartment was filling up full of water.
And while we were here, we did see a huge delivery of pizzas, so that's good news. Right now, many are watching some movies on a big screen. However, many also still don't know where they're going to go next. Of course, our weather team is very hard at work today. Jim Castillo is in studio. He's been tracking all this rain, but let's start with Chief Meteorologist Scott Connell, who's live in O'Fallon after this historic night of rain.
You know, Mike, about 11 inches of rain fell here in O'Fallon, Missouri, right in this neighborhood. And of course, it caused a tremendous amount of flooding. You see a lot of the neighbors have come out here, and friends and family, they're helping doing some cleanup right now. Is this a record? You better believe it's a record. We don't get rainfall like this in St. Louis. It's a daily record. Let's take a look at some of the statistics here that we're talking about. First of all, for the day, we had 8.64 inches. That's just the daily record. The storm total's 9.07. All right, that's a lot of rainfall, and it was concentrated over the urban area along Interstate 70 from Wentzville right into St. Louis, over along Interstate 64 into Belleville. So you had this very heavy rainfall falling in a very urban area where there's a lot of runoff. Really, no one could do well with as much rain as we had, but the urban runoff added to that. 9.07 is now our 24-hour total. That shatters a 24-hour rainfall records in the St. Louis area. And a shout out to our first responders who last night and this morning were just doing heroic work rescuing folks. Jimmy, I know there's more rain on the way. Tell us what's coming up.
Yeah, hi, Scotty. Great work out there, and I heard sirens all night long. And of course, that huge band of rain, one of the largest amounts I could find east of St. Peter's by about a mile, 11.59 inches, so almost a foot of rainfall there. So on the satellite radar shot, you can see, look at that. We're trying to clear a little bit. Still a lot of clouds around St. Louis, but the rain has ended. So that's some great news, at least for now. Now we are expecting this boundary with all that heat to the south of it. Springfield, Missouri is at 103 right now. Some of that air is trying to lift into the area. And of course, we're also going to see that low-level jet form again tonight. And this is what that future cast looks like. So showers and thunderstorms again late night, not expecting it to be quite like last night. But even if we get an inch, inch and a half, 2 inches on top of the same areas that had the extreme rain today, when overnight last night, we're going to see some major issues. But we are going to see, again, less amounts of rain as we head toward Friday and Saturday. Much more on our 7-day forecast coming up in just a bit. Mike.
All right, Jim, Scott, thanks very much. We do have a list of emergency shelters just like this one in Richmond Heights. All you have to do is text the word flood to 314-425-5355. We'll send you a link with that list. And we're going to have much more on all this in just a few minutes. In fact, here's a look at what's coming up.
Vehicles submerged in water, basements flooded to no return. I'm going to a Hazelwood community when we come back.
Evidence of floodwaters still in St. Charles. We're talking about some of the heroic rescue efforts coming up after this break.
And we are continuing to follow flooding damage across the bi-state. Patricia Stallings from Hazelwood sent us these images of her neighborhood underwater. Right now, thousands are feeling the impact of this historic rainfall. We'll have more on the flooding after the break.
And welcome back to our team coverage of this record rainfall in the St. Louis area. It has been just unbelievable to hear some of the stories inside this room with the American Red Cross helping people who have been displaced. 5 on your sides, Ryan Henson is live in St. Charles County where rain filled up creek beds and then moved into homes and businesses. Ryan.
That's exactly what happened, Mike. And you can still see some of the remnants of flood waters over my shoulder, some of the debris on the road, even that car down the street that had been washed out. It's been there since early this morning, and we're about about a half mile southwest of Highway 370, and you can see just how much debris was caused by Coal Creek, which is not that far away, when that swelled up and overflowed overnight when the rain came down. So crews in St. Charles area and across the county really have just experienced a ton of work as they responded to rescue calls and the many other calls that relating to the flooding that happened earlier this morning. I talked to one first responder who says his team alone answered about a dozen calls, and his ambulance crew expected to see some of the roads here flood because it frequently does. Like I said, Coal Creek is really just about a stone's throw away from where I'm at right now. But then they found other roads that typically stay dry that were underwater. That's when they knew that they were in for a busy, busy morning. His best advice to stay safe in the next flash flood: turn around, don't drown.
We've had times where we've seen some increased flooding just due to heavy rainfalls, but it just seems like last night was just overabundance and just a lot more calls than we're used to. Slowing down a little bit now, so hopefully get some downtime to rest up and get all the equipment restocked and dried out and ready to go again for the next round if it's as much rain.
And it may not look like it right here behind me, but there's a lot of neighborhoods out here in this area. We spoke to one neighbor who says he's looking at least $10,000 worth of damage, and he doesn't know where he's going to get the funds from. There's also an animal hospital out here, and sadly, they lost a pup due to the flooding. We're going to talk about some of their heroics coming up at 6 o'clock.
And in the county, water toppling over vehicles. I'm going to talk to one woman. Her basement is terrible right now. We're going to hear from her when we come back.
We're back live here in Richmond Heights after the record rainfall in St. Louis. We're at an emergency shelter where people right now are starting to eat a little bit. A lot of people have collected blankets. There were some harrowing stories as we talked to people here, people who had to be rescued this morning by boat. And Travis Cummings has heard very similar stories in Hazelwood, and he's standing by live. Travis.
Yeah, Mike, and right now we're in Baldwin at the county's communications emergency building where Executive Sam Page did give an update. He was alongside MSD and some other folks from the county give an update. This is something that we're happy to report. There are no injuries or no deaths at this time here in the county, but there was some significant damage, and we want to get right to you and show you what we saw earlier today. This is in North County off of Palm Drive. This street leads up to a park and a couple of other recreational areas. You see some vehicles here completely submerged in water, at least 5 feet of water, and this is lighter than what residents saw this morning. Crews were here doing water rescues. Many of these homes, you see, have basements. One lady invited us inside to see her basement and what she calls her she shed out back, completely in ruins.
Yeah, it's just wasn't a good morning. It wasn't a good morning at all. So I had packed some bags, put the animals in the car, and at least got them out the way at first. You know what I'm saying now? I'm just trying to get what I can out the way to try to, I don't know, save what I can. I don't know what to do.
Yeah, and she's feeling how many residents here in the county are feeling right now. Many of them have lost a lot of their property, a lot of their resources inside their homes, their vehicles. And if that's you, they want you to call United Way. That number is 211. We're live in the county. Travis Cummings, 5 on your side.
Well, we know we had record rainfall, but the problem is it's not over yet. We're going to get more rain this week, and it just keeps coming down. What a difference a week makes, Kelly.
Yeah, absolutely. It was sunny and dry last week, and the big question is, Jim Castillo, when and where will it fall again?
Well, it looks like it's going to move right into that same area, the same area that got hit last night, but we're not expecting it to be as intense. Now, that said, just any thunderstorm activity with even an inch of rain is going to be an issue with how much fell and on top of what we just had. So 80 degrees right now, guys. Now, yes, it was in the hundreds on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And you notice that moisture started to creep in. See that dew point? About 74. So humidity is 81%. Feels like 85. It's 80 degrees. That is the high for the day. Earlier, it was 79, but now that the sun's trying to creep out and peek out, we jumped a little bit. So 90 is the average high, though, so below average, and then 8.64 inches. There's that new all-time daily record rainfall in St. Louis. Just incredible amounts of rain last night. A lot of thunderstorm activity. Weeds are high. Mold, as you can imagine, with the wet ground, it is high, so a lot of people are starting to notice that. And then here's that boundary. So right below that in Springfield, Missouri, it's 103 degrees right now at this hour. 80 in St. Louis, Columbia at 79. So we're just watching once again after midnight, these nocturnal storms get going and the low-level jet really starts to feed these guys, and that heat tries to bubble up back into the area. So watching that radar now, we're fine at the moment. All that rain finally dissipated, and it was clear in our southern counties. Not much rain at all from Farmington all the way back into Reynolds County and also Rolla. But we're watching the future cast for later on tonight. And again, right at this moment, things are fine. Couple of showers look through central Missouri and northwest of us. A couple are trying to pop up there. So let's take a look at where that area was again last night, right through Troy, O'Fallon, St. Louis, Belleville, Nashville, and through the heart of St. Louis. But to the south, not much. So real quickly, the future cast after midnight tonight, watch this area of showers and storms bubble into St. Louis, and it may actually set up a little further south. So we'll keep our eyes on this, and any rain that we do get is going to cause an issue. 7-day forecast, 86 for tomorrow, 87 Thursday. If you get a little bit more sunshine, you get a little hotter. And then that lesser chances for rain on Friday, Saturday, low 80s. And then we do have a better chance of rain coming back on Sunday.
All right, Jim, thank you. We'll be right back.
With the Big Two watching from elsewhere, the Cardinals are about to begin a two-game series in Toronto. Andre Palante gets the ball. The Italian stallion has been rock steady with a 3.34 ERA. That's the good news. The bad is the Jays have won 6 in a row, and they've scored 40 runs in their last 3 games. With the Cardinals starting staff ERA in the 5s in July, pitching is the need at the trade deadline. What about this guy, Madison Bumgarner? He signed through 2025. He's only 32 years old. Mad Bum is not dominating like he used to be, but he does have a 3.7 earned run average, 4 All-Star games, and 3 World Championships.
If they want to take that contract on, they can pretty much get him for free. That probably depends on how much the Diamondbacks want to pay down. I mean, he's not the same Madison Bumgarner as with the Giants, but he has pitched better of late. So, I mean, you can get him for probably a fringe prospect if you take on the whole contract.
I'll take him tomorrow. The biggest name to be moved at the trade deadline will likely be Juan Soto. The home run derby champion has basically had a Ted Williams beginning to his career. He's already turned down $440 million. The national media says the Cardinals are the most likely landing spot, but the Cardinals would have to give up too much to get him.
You would start with Jordan Walker, and you probably would include Mason Wynn. You probably would include one of the major league outfielders right now. The guy they would want is Dylan Carlson. I think you would also probably have to maybe include Alec Burleson, who's tearing up AAA. You probably would have to include a pitcher or two, like of the Gordon Graceffo, Michael McGreevy category. Some combination of 4 or 5 of those guys.
Finally tonight, there are 3 ways to become suddenly rich. Marry money, win the lottery, and be a pro athlete who went to Chaminade High School. Matthew Tkachuk is the latest with his $76 million contract with the Panthers. Matthew's brother, Brady, well, he weighs in with a $58 million deal. Also, one-time Blue Paul Stastny has $83 million in career earnings. Goalie Ben Bishop, $45 million. In basketball, Bradley Beal's in the midst of a $251 million contract. Jason Tatum's current deal is worth $163 million, and he's only 24. And don't forget David Lee, who made $92 million over his career. Moral to the story, be an athlete from Chaminade, and that will do it in sports.
But you know, Frank bought a lottery ticket for tonight because he wants to win the Mega Millions, so he can be in that echelon. All right, let's get one final check of the weather with Jim.
Thank you for that reminder. I need to get my ticket. So what we have, Mike, is right now we're fine. No rain out there, and it's starting to try to clear. But overnight tonight, more showers and storms. And even if we get a quarter of an inch or an inch of rain, that will likely cause an issue. 85 and a chance of rain also Thursday at about 87.
And there you have it. 5 on your side at 5.
Nightly News is next. We'll see you again at 6 with more live coverage on today's flash flooding. Have a great night and be safe.